Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now about what the Commanders did in the offseason and how it helps Jaden Daniels. There are multiple factors that go into this. Of course, the one thing I didn't mention in there, but the most important thing is how he helps himself. The way he works is the number one factor in anywhere his career goes. It starts with that. You can do all the stuff you want. And that's why I always, there are people here, quarterbacks here in the past, where people are like, they should do this and this. If the quarterback doesn't have a certain approach, it is not going to work. And Daniels has it, period. Everything from there is just, it's icing on the cake as far as help him because he's going to help himself more than anything. And that is very, very key. Anyway, so that's up on ESPN.com. Also, in a minute, I'll be joined by Santana Moss, former Redskin receiver. We talk about a lot of things. We talk about Clinton Portis, the coach, believe it or not. And Santana gave a really good answer about Portis in that role. DeSean Jackson, he also played with DeSean here for a year. So there, we talk about that. I think that one may have surprised him a little bit. And then, of course, some of the new receivers, Deebo Samuel, Jaylen, how they fit in with this group. No Brown, not a new addition, but just coming back. And then obviously the Terry McLaurin situation, just what he makes of it. And here's what I would say. By the way, before I get to the McLaurin stuff, and then I'm get to right to the Moss conversation, for you gold members, I will be doing a private Zoom on Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And for you gold members who can't make it, do me a favor and send me an email, and you should have the email address, and just let me know times that you can make it, because I want to make sure I hit more of you and do if I have to do more, do whatever, to maybe a personal one, whatever it is. Want to make sure I get to all of you. So anyways, but the private Zoom, 8 o'clock Eastern time. If you want to become a club member, Ampire Media YouTube page, see the word join and click on there, go from there. Anyway, so in a minute, Santana Moss, but now Terry McLaurin. So on that end, he missed the OTA session last week. It's voluntary. I don't know if he'll be out there on Wednesday when the media gets their first look at the veterans and rookies in camp. So I'll have a report for you off of that that OTA. It's not mandatory; it's voluntary. Just remember, a couple years ago, McLaurin did not attend some of these voluntary sessions during a time when he was looking for a contract extension. This is part of the game. And I don't know I haven't talked to Terry, so that you can assume it's related to wanting the extension. We'll see if he's there on Wednesday. Great. If he's not, it's voluntary. And he did this a few years ago. It worked out okay. I don't think anybody needs to panic about anything going on in late May or early June. So if they have the mandatory minicamp coming up in a few weeks, that's a bigger deal because it's mandatory. But again, he's looking for an extension. Here's what I'll say in the whole situation. I'll probably go into it later in a different podcast, but they want to be in business with him. He wants to be in business with them. I think they are better. I think both sides are way better together than apart. Keep that in mind. Deep breath, patience. And if he doesn't show up for this, it's voluntary. And he did it a few years ago, and he's still here. So anyway, that's all I got, folks. Here's my conversation with former Redskin receiver turned Commanders analyst, Santana Moss. All right, Santana, before we get into, because I want to bring out and talk about the Commanders receiving core and Jaylen Lane and what Deebo can do. But one of your guys is now a coach that I don't know that I ever saw him being a coach. Clinton, now coaching college. Did you ever see that? And what do you think?
We was just talking about this the other day, and I've always had the same, perspective that I've had even when I was in college, trying to find a major. And I was sharing it with Portis. I was like, look, bro, I knew a long time ago when I was in school, when they asked me, like, what do you want to major in? You have all these wild majors, like I want to be business, I want to get my doctorate in this or whatever it may be. I want to get a master's in this. And I was like, let's just be real with ourselves. Like, what do you see yourself doing? So when I was young, I told myself immediately out the door that, I'm gonna take up education, because not that I want to teach in that capacity of being in a classroom setting, but I see myself coaching one day. I see myself having a life after football, still in football, being able to, bring the youth up or bring, the people that's on the same journey that I was on, later on in life. I'm not doing that right now, but I have that in my back pocket. So when I was laughing, when I told him about it, I was like, bro, let's just be honest with ourselves. At one point in time, folks tell you like when it's over with, you got to go do something else. But we know football. So
Right.
why not
Right.
dive back into it and be that coach that you felt that the other coaches that cross paths with, either be like one of them coaches that you feel like that has been a huge inspiration on your career, or not even that, be better than those guys. And I was happy to hear that he got a shot at it, because I truly believe that I can see Clinton D1 a year from now, or even in the pros, because he's that smart. Like, he's very, very, between those ears, man, he has it. And I remember sitting down with him in meetings and just asking him questions about what he knew from a running back standpoint. And he just knew everything. He knew the lineman job. He knew the wide receiver's job. And, as receivers, we don't dive that deep into the playbook when it comes to other folks' jobs behind us. Like, we know the lineman has to block, X, Y, Z. We know the running backs when they have to run certain, or whatever hold it may be. If he's coming to my side, who we blocking. Portis knew everybody's job. So when I think back, to those conversations, just knowing what he knows, man, I'm happy to see him finally getting his feet wet, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with it.
He was a very smart player, and the
Yeah.
funny thing is because like he was known for the other stuff too, right?
Yeah.
The outsized Clinton
Yeah.
Portis, and just that it didn't always fit the mold of a coach. But I'm glad he's doing it because I just think it's cool. Like, have you ever been tempted then since you've been out?
Yeah, I was tempted right by the pandemic. I think the pandemic saved me. The 2019, the end of that year, I went and did the NFL PA Bowl. So I coached the receivers in that bowl. And then right after that, 2020, fast forward to 2020, Coach Butch Davis, my head coach at the University of Miami, was the head coach at FIU, Florida International University, down in Miami, a couple of blocks away from University of Miami. And he asked me to come out and intern with him. And bro, I went out and was doing it. And midway through being an intern, the pandemic broke out. Everybody had to go home, so that's how close I was, and I think I had got bitten by the bug at the time. I felt like it was just like, let me try this out. But at the same time, too, I'm so used to being busy. I think that's what got me, wanting to do it at that particular time. Now I look back at it, people ask me to this day, hey, you think you're going to do it one day? I never say no. But right now I'm enjoying this new little thing I got. You know what I mean? I love that it's giving me an opportunity to see the field a different way and travel and still be a part of something that I, hold deeply, close to my heart. So if it pops up again, I'll probably think hard and long about it. But I definitely got bit by that bug, a few years ago.
Well, it's funny too because it would be natural because you guys have a lot to offer. The thing I always wonder about for ex-players, you guys have, you made good money, right? And the coaching hours in the NFL kind of suck. But like
Yeah.
I look at like Logan is coaching in high school,
Yeah.
like guys like there are a lot of guys that get it that fix by doing it that way too. So it doesn't have to be at a certain level. It can be at any level.
Yeah. Yeah. My fix was doing my camps. I have those camps that I used to host
Right.
throughout the summer, through my foundation, 89 Ways to Give. So I haven't had a camp in a few years now since the pandemic because of, the pandemic, like I said, it shifted a lot of stuff I was doing. And then I got busier with the whole broadcasting stuff. I mean, like right after the pandemic, things went up with that. So I had more gigs. I had more time to, kind of get better at this, trying to, perfect this craft. But like I said before, man, well, whatever way I can get that fixed, I'm probably going to get it, but I'm never going to count myself out of having that chance to probably do it one day.
Yeah, and I also think it's kind of cool that DeSean. I did not picture DeSean as a head coach.
You and me both.
Yeah, so but hopefully it'd be fun to see those guys have success.
I'm rooting for them. I want to
Yeah,
see
of
them
course.
do well, man. I think
Yeah,
both of those guys, meant a lot to our league, to the NFL,
yes,
and just to see them over there being able to contribute, to the HBCU, man. I'm looking forward to them and Mike Vick over there.
yeah, for sure. Yep. And
who
I always enjoyed DeSean, love covering Clinton. So I hope for
mhm.
that. Let's look at these guys now for
Yep.
how would you just generally assess this receiving core at the, we're talking on May 22nd, recording this on May 22nd. So there's a long way to go in the offseason here, but early thoughts on this receiving core in general.
I mean, they talented. I think if you look at it from a year ago, we were sitting there saying we need different kind of body types. We need taller guys.
Right.
We felt like last year all the guys fit the same mold, and we didn't have enough size. Then you bring in Brown, and Brown shows you immediately like yes, whether you wanted him, you called him a for sure number two or not. He played like a 1B. You know what I mean? Like he really went out there and opened things up for his offense, because when they tried to, roll coverages to Terry, Brown shows you like you cannot leave me out here by myself. I'm too gifted of a route runner. I know this game and I have height on me. You think about it. Last year, at one point in the year, during the season, every time we threw a deep ball to him, we got a penalty. He was getting pass interference calls because defenders didn't know how to cover him. They had to pull him. They had to do something to slow him down. So you look at that, and then you fast forward to now having a Deebo, having a Lane, having Brown back. It's a talented room. And then Terry having his best year thus far in his career. It's going to be some things that I'm interested in seeing, just the way Cliff expand this playbook, because I feel like he has a lot of weapons now, including the guys that he's going to have in the back and having those guys at tight end. So I'm intrigued to see what's going to, how these guys are going to look, just knowing that it's more talent out there and it's going to be some guys getting more attention than others. So it's going to leave a lot of guys open.
For Deebo? You know what it's like as a receiver as you get older in the league, and
Yeah.
just how people start perceiving you. But for him, I mean, he can still play, right? So what are you expecting from him, and what level do you think he can get to?
I'm expecting to see Deebo. One of the things I find odd about when we criticize folks about what they do, because you don't want nobody to critique you about what you do when you're not having a good day or a good
Right.
week or a good month or a good year. That I'm still him. I'm still that person. I can always tap back into it and say, okay, I got to be better. So just know that if we're critical, he's critical. You know what I
Right.
mean? He's going to make sure that, look, man, whatever happened last year, I don't like it. Now I got to get back in the lab. I think also you just got to look at how things pan out, collectively with the team. I think, that's a big reason too why Deebo year probably wasn't the Deebo
Correct.
years of past. So I'm expecting to see Deebo. I think he's on a more talented offense with more, skilled guys that can get him open, and vice versa. He's going to be able to be out there and collect more eyes to him and then get other guys open. But I think also when you look at a guy that's leaving from one place where he had some great moments and some great years, Pro Bowl years at that, to come to another place, he's eager to go out there and show this team, man,
Right.
this is the guy y'all getting, the same guy or better that you saw over there, in San Fran. So I'm expecting him to go out there and go bananas. And I think not only because of who he is and what he's shown us he can do, I think this offense, what Cliff does with it, with the ball and just getting guys like Deebo, the ball early, man, I think he can do a lot with Deebo. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of packages they have in store for him.
Yeah, and I know it is funny to say because like he was in a good situation in San Francisco, a good play caller and Kyle, good
Mm-hmm.
offense, Ayuk and all that, and Purdy. But I think he's in a really good situation here. Jaden I think, is a more talented
Yeah.
quarterback.
Court.
Clearly, I think
Mm-hmm.
Cliff does a really good job using the talent around him, and I think it could be a very very good situation for him. And that like being in the last year of the deal and coming to a new team, how much can that push a guy?
Yeah, it's pressure in itself. I think no matter if you left or not, it's gonna be pressure. It depends on the player though, how he perceives it. I'm a guy that as long as I'm doing what I have to do, before the season, during the season, I'll allow whatever happens. And I think he's going to probably be the same way. I remember being in that situation as a Jet, and that was my last year there, but I didn't even think that was going to be my last year. I remember going into my fourth year with them, season 4, and on my rookie deal still, and they told my agent, like, look, we ready to talk. Tanner just went out there, missed the whole first year as a rookie, came back second year. I was an all-pro as a punt returner, first team all-pro as a punt returner, led the league in punt return on touchdowns. Came back the next year when Coles came over here, and I led the team in receiving yards, got my first 1,000-yard season, and I didn't start until week 5. So, when you start putting up those numbers, the team say, oh, you know what, we got something. So going into year 4, they like, look, we're ready to talk. And then year 4, I'm not getting the touches. I'm not getting the ball. So when you being young, I didn't know the game. So I'm not understanding why, like, bro, I just had 10 touchdowns and 1,000 yards last year. The year before, I just ran all these punts. Like, why are you not getting me the opportunity to go out there and be special? And then you learn the business and you say, wow, our teams they're willing to go out there and say, in order not to pay this guy, I would take something off his plate. Yeah. I don't see as much as that. I don't see so much of that now because I feel like offense is out there it's such wide open now for wide receivers that you got to get these balls over to these guys, especially these playmakers. But back then, didn't know the game was like that. So you fast forward to a guy like Deebo, man, who meant so much to his team, and they was willing to say, hey, we might not pay him, so we'll deal him. And now he has that thing in his back of his head and on his shoulders, like they dealt the wrong one. You know what? Thank you though, because I'm going somewhere where I can really go out here and thrive. So I'm looking forward to him, and I know he probably have a chip and probably don't even have one. But I also know that when you have that added pressure of having to prove yourself and just knowing that, hey, I'm playing for my livelihood, man, guys go out there balls to the wall.
And I think again with Noah Brown had a good year. Terry is Terry. Ertz had a good year. And I think you put a guy like a Jaylen Lane out there, if he can help, then it just like it becomes a even better situation for all of them, And that's what I think, I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, weapons are key, man. Like, like I said, last year, we didn't know what Zacchaeus was going to bring. We didn't know what De'Ami Brown was going to bring. He showed you that he stepped up in that offense. We didn't know what Noah Brown, we didn't even have him going into the season. You see what I'm saying? So when you add all these guys, man, it's like a guy out there playing Madden, or playing online, playing Madden football. Like when you give a guy like Cliff Kingsbury that can just, think about what he did last year in the second half of the season when everybody had doubts of talking about the old Cliff Kingsbury normally fades away offensively. He doesn't have good second halves of the season. He showed you, man, just calm down. I don't have nothing else to worry about but this offense. And he showed you, man, I have one of the best quarterbacks at the helm, and I'm going to show you how good my skill players are. So I just think about it like that, man. It's no more of us saying that you need this guy, or you need that guy, you need this guy. When you have a dynamic quarterback, everybody's that much better. Even the guy that you didn't think, he's that much better, because guess what? You better guard him, because if he open, that quarterback going to give him the ball.
And to that point, so this is the thing I always bring up. Terry had his best year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zacchaeus had his best year. De'Ami had his best year. And Noah Brown was on pace for his best year. Zach Ertz had his best year in several years.
Mm-hmm.
The common denominator was Jaden.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I do.
Go back out there right now. I can go out there and have another year with Jaden. Being 46 years old, I can go out there and get it done, right?
There you go. But it is like, it's not a coincidence.
No, at all.
And I think Cliff deserves credit too.
A lot of credit. Most of the credit.
But Jaden, like, what is it about Jaden that gets those? I feel like we keep finding ways to say he was really good and that he is really good. But not every quarterback can get that kind of production out of every receiver.
Yeah, I think he just oh man, I'm trying to put in the best words I can. When you watch him, last year I was waiting to see a rookie. Every week I was like, okay, he's gonna tap into being a rookie. Even when he went through the little injury and he was pulling off of some of those throws in a couple of games after the injury, when he stood in there, I'm like, yeah, see, this is the rookie part of it. But then he was just showing. Then I thought about it, I'm like, nah, he just hurt. And if I remember I cracked my ribs in year 3 with the Jets, and I played that whole season. That was my 1,000-yard year. And I knew that was on mine. I'm like, look, this is my chance. I'm starting now, cracked or bruised, whatever it is, I'm getting up there, I'm going to play. And I end up having that 1,000-yard season. And so I'm looking at Jaden last year like, okay, he's going to show me a rookie sooner or later. He's going to show me a rookie sooner or later. He's going to show me. And it's like each and every game when the teams thought they knew something more, he showed them, you don't know nothing. You don't know me yet. You probably won't ever find out. And I think, don't get me wrong, teams are going to study. Teams are going to watch and see tendencies. but he knows it already. He tells you that. He told you in his press conference, like, well, some of the things I'm gonna be working on is whatever my bad tendencies was, and some of the things that I could correct from last year. And that's what you want. That's all you want. You want a quarterback that's eager to learn and just get better. And I think that's what he's shown me. He showed me who he was by just showing that every week he gave us a chance. And if he did that in year one, I can't wait to see what he'll do in year two.
Right. And that's what I always say. Like, they're studying him, he's studying them. Like, it's not like he's not doing anything. Like, he's going to work to improve too, which is always, to me, the key. What do you know about Jaylen Lane? I don't know how much you've been able to watch him, and even at the rookie minicamp weekend, if you could even see anything from him. And we haven't, there's a long way to go with him, but what are some early thoughts on him?
Well, my thoughts is when I watch him run routes, I can see he's raw. He's a guy that's just fast, physical, and he's not scared. So I'm looking forward to, a guy like Bobby Ingram to really put his hands on him and show him how to run some routes and get better at being a receiver. But I just know right now, jumping off the chart to me is that, man, he's a for sure punt returner. He's a guy that you got to put the ball in his hand, whether he's going to run a route or not. I'm going to find a way to get the ball in his hand, because you can't teach speed. And that's what he has going for him right now. But I saw his toughness. I saw that when he played against University of Miami last year. And then I saw it on some of the punt return highlights that I saw. I'm like, well, this guy's, he's fearless. He's going up there. The ball is in the air. He's not even seeing the guys. And he's catching it and making one guy miss and getting up into the, knifing up into the middle of the field on punt returns. That's not easy. And that's one of the reasons why coaches, gave me that job in college, because I was willing to go out there and make sure that I caught the ball, but at the same time did what I had to do once I got it. But I see a raw wide receiver that has a lot of speed, and I think that once the coaches put their hands on him and really define what he can be as a receiver, you never know, a slot receiver, outside receiver, whatever it is that he can do receiver-wise, you're going to see a talented guy go out there and be another playmaker for this offense.
Just a couple more things. Terry, obviously in a contract year, right? And they want to get that extension done
already. I feel like Terry just got paid.
It feels like that.
Wow, time flies, man.
Listen, man, if you're smart, you sign a 3-year deal, get to free agency early, right? So he's in that year, and so what's that like for a player when you're in that situation? And I know, like, the money is crazier than ever before, right? But he's a little bit older. It just feels like there's going to be, I don't know about, not complicated, I have no clue, but it just, I just wonder about the mindset of a player in that spot, how you handle things going into there. And he's a guy that we know, regardless of, how many OTAs he comes to or not, is going to be very well prepared.
This is what, year 8 or year 7? 7 or 8?
It was 19. So year 19, 20, 21, 22, year 7?
7. Should be 7. Yeah.
Yep, you're 7. Thank you. I can count.
Yeah. So I mean, he's still young to me, man. I mean, if you ain't hit year 10 yet, that's still young. And so think about what I was doing in year 7. You see what I'm saying? That was my 3rd year here. That's the year we beat the Cowboys to go to the playoffs, and that was the year Sean left us. But that was year 7 for me. You know what I'm saying? And that was another 1,000-yard season for me. That was another playoff berth. That was Coach Gibbs' last year with us. And I believe it or not, we only went to the first. We got beat in Seattle up there in Seattle in the first round. But he's still young, and regardless of how old and how young, these guys have shown you the last few years that they're going deeper now into these ages. Pierre and DeSean got a big check in year 10, 11. You know what I mean? And that's raised my eyebrows, because I remember me and Reggie was going into we were after year 10 when we was getting our money. They was questioning us about being old. And I'm like, 3 years later, then we made it to year 14. And so the guys behind us reaped those benefits, because they said, well, okay, we gave these guys, some okay money, and they end up making it to year 14. I think Terry is a guy that's smart. I mean, every time he opens his mouth, man, he grabs me. He has my attention, because he knows what to say, how to say it, very articulate. But not only that, man, he's just a great guy, and he's always doing the right thing. One of the things I pride myself in saying when I talk about Terry is he living right. That's the guy that I can honestly say, if he was single, I know he just got married, so congrats to him. and I had a daughter of his age, marry this guy, not because of what he
Right.
does on the football field, because who he is as a man.
Yeah.
And so I just love the kid, man. I think he's tremendous for what we do offensively. I think he's one of the guys that fits the core of in our culture. And I think that when you have a guy like that, they're gonna do right by him. So, that's how I look at it. I feel like, these are some of the things that we go through in this league and in every league. They're going to play hardball because they have to protect their pocket too as well. Just knowing that you have an asset that we don't want to, disappoint, and we don't want to let them down. So I'm pretty sure that whatever happens is going to happen. But I truly believe that it's going to happen because he's just one of those talents, man, that I don't see him, even showing signs of slowing down right now. He just picked up.
He didn't show that last year. He was
year
going the other way.
Last year was the best year and the first time he had a for show quarterback. So
yeah,
what you expect?
Not only that, but then like if Noah Brown stays healthy, if Deebo gets to where we think he can, now you're just helping Terry out more and maybe making him more dangerous. Because there were times where they could have connected even more down the field.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. Like he had a really good year, and I know they're going to be not everything's going to be perfect all the time, but like there were chances for more. That like, okay, what happens this year in the second year with this quarterback?
And don't forget, we went through the first 5 or 6 games where we were saying they need to give him the ball.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So just think, if he went out there and he was that productive in a season where we started off hoping that he got 2 or 3 attempts in the first half, like, come on, man. But like I say, man, it's a part of our game, and we all expect it as players. We understand how it goes, and I just think that he's going to do the best for him, do what's right by him, and then the team going to do the same way. They're going to do what's best for them, but they also going to do what's best for Terry because they know that he's a valuable asset.
And you know this too, like it's a marriage it's a good marriage. Like Terry is good for this team, and I think this team is good for Terry.
Yeah, he's a guy when you it's funny because you don't understand it until you kind of remove from the equation. And I've always heard guys talk to me about like our receiver room, and they was like, your receiver room fit the leader's image or how he was perceived or how he played the game. And, myself at the time, it was crazy because coming in, I didn't picture myself as being that guy. I know I got paid to be that guy, but I had elders in my room. I had, David Patton and James Strass. And I remember when the coach asked a question, and I looked at them like, okay. And DP were like, Tanner, you the guy. We follow you. So Terry, that's how I look at Terry, man. And he's a great leader. He's a guy that's going to lead those guys the right way, even though you got a Deebo in there. Watch how Deebo look up to Terry. And even though those guys came in together, I believe they came in the same draft. But Deebo is going to always be Deebo. It's always going to be one of those guys. We had, to me, Pierre was like that. And then fast forward, my last year, you get D-Jack in there. And he was a wild, different kind of, wide out. I mean, he spoke his mind and he did things differently. But at the same time, when you have a guy like Pierre on one side, you have a guy like Tanner with a different role on the other side, those I guess you can say personalities were formed to be one. You're gonna get the best side of that guy who you might feel that's not one of those good guys. And that's why I think Terry brings to that room. He's gonna always, they're gonna respond like him, and guys gonna go out there, they blue collar, they're gonna go out there and work their behinds off because you have a guy that shows you that I'm gonna go out here and do it every day without having to say a word.
Yeah, and he also is a guy that works on it. He always finds something different to work on the offseason. So he's always trying to get better. So last thing I forgot with DeSean, I meant to ask you, what do you think he would do if one of his players gives him a purple nurple like he did to Jay Gruden?
Hey, man, it's funny just even seeing this guy being a head coach. And I ask CP all the time, man, how is DJ? How he's doing over there? But you never know, man. We all mature. You know what I'm saying? Over time. And I think he's at that stage where hopefully we get the maturity, DJ. But I really believe DJ is going to be DJ. So whatever he's doing over there, man, I just want to see it be productive and see those guys win games. But I'm almost positive that he's challenging those kids to do something. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a race, some kind of race or some kind of bet that he's going to do something or he can still outdo them. That's just the type of guy DJ is. But it's funny that when you watch a guy that was hard to coach, now is a coach, and he's the head coach. So
he was a weird one, not weird in the sense that hard to coach, but he always he came into camp in shape. He
I tell
knew
you
what
this.
to do. He was productive.
I think DJ played tricks and played mind games with the coaches
Yes.
because even though he made them sweat, he knew his job. He always was
Yes.
right. You couldn't ask him a question that he didn't know about the game. So you get guys like that. You get guys that you think not paying attention that knows they know it. So they giving you a hard time because they one of those, they rare breeds. You know, he's a rare breed. He's a guy that, man, I ain't really got to sit in here and listen to this. I'm probably gonna do it at home when you're not looking because that's just how I'm gonna be. But put me on the field, let me go out there and be special. And that's what he was. So
Yep.
that's why I've always, give him praise because I
Me
understand,
too.
man, you got guys that just different. Everybody's not going to fit the same mold. And that's some of the things that Coach Gibb, he was good at coaching different personalities and different guys because he didn't want all those to be the same. He wanted
Yep.
those wild guys and he wanted those church-going guys because he knew how to just get in the middle and coach you all. And
Yep.
when you have guys that's going to, be a little rough around the edges, as long as they get between those white lines and go to war with you and do what's needed to go out there and win, that's all you can, worry about.
And that's what DeSean did. Tana, you're the best. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Anytime.
That's it for this episode. Thanks to Santana for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back on Wednesday night after the OTA session / Thursday morning to wrap up what I saw, just some observations, and a first look at the vets coming back to camp. I'll talk to you next time.